the indexes. I also want to go over this stock that was up over 140% today. Hit 400 after being at 40 last week. Okay, everybody, now that was a fun trading day and that was an awesome week. We have a lot to go over. There are a lot of stocks that actually broke out this week, so let's just jump right into it. Tons of earnings to cover. Stay to the end because I'm going to go over the indexes. I also want to go over this stock that was up over 140% today. Hit 400 after being at 40 last week. There's some levels that we could talk about for those that are just super technical traders, but let's just talk about what's really going on out there. You're seeing demand, and you're seeing demand for any kind of alpha in trading, and what that's doing is it's driving up names like Tesla. Let me just open this up a little bit. We can kind of zoom in here. Here's your support now, right? Because support and resistance flip. We can see how this has been an issue for all of June, unable to get above it, pop over, undercut, as if we're going to roll back down, and then we go higher. One sign that you can always use to see if this is going to roll or not roll, just start looking for these higher lows. But not only the higher lows, always check the trajectory. Because if the trajectory starts to go higher, you'll notice that the stock in and of itself will continue to push. And here you can see 3 different levels and how we went higher, right? So by doing something like that, you know this is going to continue to push. Please subscribe to the channel, click all notifications. I specifically do not run ads, so if you could share this on your social media, I would appreciate it. I would rather talk about stocks than run ads in the middle of this. So you can see where you're at now. Now the question is, okay, that's great. Now what do we do? Well, we have to start watching these levels and realize that 853.24 has become what? Support. What was it before? It was resistance, okay? Resistance, haven't been above that since May 9th. So we have to start looking at these levels and going, well, where could we get to? Well, you have a little bit of a stop right here at that 890 level in this doji. But more important than that doji is this up here, which is basically a bearish engulfing, and that also broke that trend line that's right there. So I think you can get up to this. I think you can get up to 955. I think it's doable. I'm not so sure that I'm worried about that level. There's a couple key things we should focus on. Let me show you this with the 200-day and get off of these. That we obviously know they're pointing up. So this is going to be an issue. 910 is going to be an issue. And then you want to watch this 955. Now, if you have those levels down and you watch, just continue to look at shorter time frame charts to get involved. That's what we did all day today, and it worked out perfectly. These stocks are playing the pullbacks. Look at how it bounced off that 818 level and then just kept on going, right? Consolidated, broke out. Okay, that's today. This is as clean as it gets. Once you broke over that wick, we know we have to pay attention. Why? Wicks are price rejection. The top of the wick is where someone has said, I will sell everything that you have, right? And what are they doing here? They're not selling anymore. So that tells you have a confirmed move. Orbs here, opening range breakout trade, gets you in, goes from there. This is where we started buying options and stock, and then we added to it right here on this little break. And candidly, I'm still in this trade. But why am I showing it? Because there's more to go. I don't think that you should just rule this out because you're getting close to the 200-day moving average. All these names I'm about to go through tonight, I would spend some time looking at. And look at this level. You can get to 955 and you can get there fast. There is an inordinate amount of money that is on the sidelines that has to go somewhere, but not all of them were rosy. Now, this ROKU, this was a really bad quarter. And I want to go over it because if we turn and we go south again, which we have done since November, so we kind of have to prepare that it could happen again, right? So we have to look at the weak ones to determine which ones we would short. You don't want to short a Tesla when you can short a ROKU. It doesn't make any sense, right? You want to short the ones that are having bad earnings. So this kind of formed a little hammer, but not really, unable to get above that high at all, even the open. What we want to see is we just want to see it undercut and break that low, which would be $62. If you see that, you could just kind of have one of those slow moves down. This is on my perma short list, very similar to what when we put CVNA on there around 100. I'm still short this. I'm doing nothing with it going into earnings. But the point of this is if you're looking for something to short, you want to focus on these kinds of names that have blown up in bad earnings. You want to focus on the ones like Intel, right? You don't want to be trying to buy Intel. They blow up. They're telling you that business is bad. They're blaming it on the economy. They're blaming it on all kinds of things. You know who's not blaming it on anybody? GFS. Okay, GFS is the single largest beneficiary of that semiconductor bill, period. No one's even close. Building semiconductor manufacturing plants in this country is going to be absolutely huge. And this company is already here doing it. The next is going to be Taiwan Semi. But look at this really quickly. Take a look at this 50, okay? And you've crossed it for the first time. So let's get rid of all these lines. So you cross that 50 for the first time, you're pushing. Where'd you get to? You got right to the top of the doji. What happens when you flip a doji, right? We know what happens. We're going to go higher. So I think it's very realistic that you could then be fighting up here and see something along these lines. We don't need all the names in the stocks to go up in order for the NASDAQ to go. We were talking about that in the trading room today. You don't need them all to go up. You just need some of them to go up. And we will cover this in greater detail. But if you look at what's going on with the stocks right now, you can clearly see that we are breaking out of this upper channel. We talked about it this week. So, and a lot of the coverage of these indexes and sectors and being specific with numbers is based upon your comments. The more comments I get on which way to go with these videos, they help me greatly. So please comment on them. I like this a lot. I also like when you guys comment and girls comment on what stocks I missed, because I can't see everything. There's 8,000 names out there. But just watch this. You're breaking out. You can get to 433 before you're even out of the downtrend. It's 8-9%. GFS, all you're looking to do is flip this. This is on the list. If you've flipped this level, it's game on. Okay, you have a lot going on there. Look, take a look at this. Let's pull up the volume. And let's look at that breakout on volume, okay? So you're breaking above your 20-day SMA volume, some of the highest volume you haven't had since March. We saw how it ripped there. Am I calling that the bear market is over or whatever you want to call it? I don't really care. I'm not going to name things. I'm just going to tell you right now that you broke a downward trend line. You came down, you tested and rejected right there. Let's zoom in on that. And you rejected right there. Then what happened? Then we flipped. So I would pay close attention to day one above a 50-day moving average. I'll say that again, and something you might want to remember. I would pay attention to day one above a 50-day moving average. This is an SMA, by the way. Use whatever you're comfortable with. I like using SMAs. Now, we should probably talk about monkeypox. This is getting a lot of steam. We've been playing around with this for some time. Quite frankly, really haven't been crushing it on it. It's just the way it's trading was last week with the WHO information that came out, and then it wasn't an issue, and then WHO came out and said it's an issue. It's starting to pick up some steam. FDA issued a statement really targeting this company today, which was very interesting. But I'm surprised that they did, but when you read the statement, I think it might be misunderstood, and I think you might have seen a knee-jerk reaction. So I did post a couple levels on Twitter that you might want to follow me on Twitter. And we did post this also right here on in the trading room as to, hey, if you want to play this, this is the mother of all morning stars. If you don't know what morning stars are, there'll be a link to a video at the end of this. I highly suggest you watch it and learn these patterns. Number one thing that people tell me that are in the trading room that are learning is that they are learning the most from patterns. So if that's important and pattern recognition is working, and then understanding how to replicate that might be something that could benefit everybody. But understanding this would allow you to have bought this at 16, traded up, and then the games are going to begin in the shenanigans after night. And we know what these levels are. These are all fib levels, and that's what we're watching. So overall, I'm very comfortable here at that level, and you can see if you know how to draw fib levels correctly, you know where you could possibly bounce. It's not really rocket science. You can kind of see the level right there. I don't think this is over. That's really where my head is. I don't think this is over. I think that the FDA statement was misconstrued. It's very clear the FDA statement reflects everything that's on SIGA's website. So I am not a doctor. I'm not getting into that. I'm just simply stating that I think that the statement was just a gross overreaction. Next on the list is going to be Microsoft. You flipped. There's very little to say here. You had to flip the doji. You did it. See if you can break through this higher high. If you can get to 291. If you take a look at this on the weekly, that doesn't get any prettier. Just look at this. Here's your doji. Dojis are a sign of what? Uncertainty. Okay. You can see how support, and then we bonk, and then it becomes what? Resistance, flipping to what? Support. You come here and take a really quick look at this, and you're about to flip the downward channel that you've been in since December. That's the type of things you want to be buying right now. That's where you want to put your money. Okay. So you can always set this up as something to get out of, right? You just set your trade up properly, and then you just use this as your stop. So, I mean, that's very clear to do. I mean, you could even buy it on pullbacks. We do that all the time. You could even buy it on pullbacks. So I like that a lot. I really like Apple's quarter. I think that this is being grossly overlooked on how much demand they're seeing. They're actually accelerating demand. So we had Walmart come out and tell us things were awful. Well, that's not really what's going on, is it? Right? Like, that's not what we're hearing now. Okay, Walmart says things are awful. This stock's up $10 since then. What's Apple doing? People are getting Apple phones. I mean, it's really that simple. So don't overthink this, okay? The worst thing you can do, I've been through bear markets a lot. I've been doing this for a while. And the one thing I will say to you is, no one's going to ring this bell and say it's a bottom. What's going to happen is some economist is going to be on talking about peak inflation in October, and we could be looking at Apple at 180. You know, that and a bowl of soup gets us a bowl of soup. So you're going to have to take risk and understand that at some point the market is going to rally. We're going to go back to where the stocks go up and don't go down every day. And what happens is people get kind of locked in and forget that. So what you do is you just quantify your risk, you put the trade on, and you see if it works. If it doesn't, you go to the next one. But it's going to be really hard to not play these names when you're seeing names like Amazon absolutely crush earnings. And let's just be clear on this. Amazon crushed. The reason for the loss was they wrote down Rivian. Frankly, they should have sold all their stock a long time ago, but that's why we're down. They're laying people off that are in different jobs, but everyone's rethinking their hiring. This is an enormous move, and this move just got enveloped, right? So all we really did was work that off today, but here, take a look at this on the weekly. And what's nice, we actually have monthly charts now because we're at the end of the month. But look at that flip. Okay, you want to play with this? I mean, this is a clear line to 146. Clear line to 146 with this W pattern right here. Look at this on a monthly. Does that look like something that you should be worried about? It looks like something that's doing a 1, 2, 3 and just formed well, this wouldn't even be a bullish hook reversal, would it? It'd be a bullish homing pigeon if we're going to get super technical. I mean, it's telling you that to complete that pattern, as I said before, when you understand patterns, you can come up with target prices. Just based upon that pattern, it gets us to 168. So you'll see that I'm leaning very heavily into one sector, right? I'm leaning into large cap names. Why am I doing that? Because that's where institutions are going to put their money in case they're wrong, and they can roll right back out of this. If you're not comfortable buying individual names right now, I would focus on something like TQQQ. This is something we added in the trading room today. Okay, a lot of people are a little gun shy, and I get that. Even the newer traders, even more seasoned people, I get it. It's been like whack-a-mole. Every time we poke our head out, we're getting crushed by something that we didn't even know was an issue. But you're seeing this flip, and you're seeing us go higher. Now, why is this going higher? The indexes are going higher because they're being pulled higher. So just buying the index, the 3X ETF Qs, trade doesn't get any easier. I mean, just use the low of today as your stop. If you reverse, you're probably going to have some kind of bearish pattern. Maybe you recurl, but that'll give you another opportunity. And meanwhile, you're protecting your capital. But to think that this can't continue is just silly. You get through 35, you start hitting all kinds of levels to start looking at, right? 42, you can get back up here to 50. I mean, can it happen? Absolutely. And I've seen it happen faster than people think it can. And then people will come back and say, well, that wasn't really my kind of market to trade in. Look, your goal as a trader is very simple. It's not to quantify yourself and join some type of tribe of how you trade. Your goal is to make money every day. Whether you call yourself a contra trader, day trader, swing trader, it's not your job. Your job is to make money. And when you put yourself in these boxes, that's when you get hurt. That's my one rant for the night. So just be aware of that. As far as themes, okay, Exxon was very clear today on their conference call. The refining capacity is down 3x from what it was in 2008. 3x from what it was in 2008. They do not have enough capacity and enough development to meet demand going out next year. Okay, this is a real issue, and this is not going away. And even when they decide to fix it, it's not going to go away right away. So to think that energy is going to somehow revert, and we'll go over energy in a moment, it's not. So what you want to do is you want to get involved. This one is behind. They've never missed a dividend payment. See if it flips and can push higher. But this was a beautiful chart today and a clear breakout on above average volume. And to think that this trade's over, it's not even close to being over, in my opinion. I think you're going to wind up taking out the highs and heading back up to this, maybe 115 this time around. I think this really has legs. Now, for stocks that decided to go up for no apparent reason, even though there was, we're going to talk about this. So this HKD. So these are simple, and I'm going to give you a really quick tip. You should be taking a list of all IPO stocks and just putting them out there and watching them. Okay, all these names, and when they take out a higher high, that's when you want to get involved with them. Same as if they take out a lower low, right? If they take out a higher high or a lower low, you want to pay attention to them. Now, when this flipped here, and you can see this move, obviously this move has gotten exacerbated, and we'll go through technical levels that you can look at. You should pay attention to these. This is no different than when somebody was extremely short GameStop and it just kept going. And you can see what's happening here, right? We've already talked about this pattern, but you can see how this trajectory just kept changing over and getting stronger, right? And as you start to do that, you can get involved with it, see it start to consolidate. I'm not suggesting any reason the stock has any business being where it is. That's not the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is for you to look at levels where this may decide to stop. For example, 295, it could stop there. If you look here, look at these double wicks. Wicks are what? Price rejection. So obviously somebody's buying this at 348.79. So by utilizing these levels, you could actually go out there and try and trade that. Look at that level, 466.59, right? Tried to break over it, couldn't. There you are. You know where your first resistance line is. So by looking at these, you can kind of set yourself up a little bit. Look at the wicks. Wicks are what? Price rejection, 254.50. See that level? So pay attention to this. Now, let's run through the indexes. QQQ. Yes, we sold off at the end of the day. I don't think anyone really cares. This is off a little bit. Let's just drop that down to where it belongs. It belongs right there. Again, I do not run ads. If you could please share this on your social media, it would be greatly appreciated. I try not to waste your time, and all I'm asking for is a like and for you to share this if you find value in it. If you don't find value in it, don't share it. But you see that level right there? Just pay attention to it, right? So in other words, you flipped what you needed to flip today. Did you make a higher high? Yes. Answered. Okay, so now you just have to get over this 316.40, and what you're really trying to focus on is this. Let's bring this down, slide this over. So let's just talk about how far back this goes. This is the major DTL. DTL stands for downward trend line. See how you're holding right here? Okay, bonk, comes down, retest, bonk. That's it. You have a line. You have yet to test this, except for here. You're approaching that test. So you could still be in a downward trend, and I want you to understand that, and hitting here, okay, 326. That's very possible. Now, if you look at the SPY, you're flipping that level. Your upper trend line could get you all the way up to here, 436. Pushing through these two levels, it can happen. It can absolutely happen. This is the strongest reversal of any month that you've had since this began. So just remember that. This is the strongest reversal we have had since any month, since November, since back here, right? October. Look at this. And we're taking it a higher high on the Qs. Right? So you're telling me at the end of the month, I have a bullish engulfing? I have a bullish engulfing pattern at the end of the month on the Qs. Okay. Last time that happened was back here. And we had a nice month after that. So am I predicting the bottoms in? I have no idea. I do think that we might have seen peak inflation, but I have no way of knowing that yet. And I do have a downtrend here. So maybe all I do is get up to this level. But that's still that 326 level we just talked about. So keep that in mind. I think that's really important. And overall, you're watching the VIX completely implode. And as the VIX implodes, they have to put money to work, okay? They have to. They don't have a choice. The only thing that I would say to you that I would watch is every sell-off has come from hitting this line. If you go and take a look at these lines that I have drawn here, all your big sell-offs have come from hitting these lines and then rolling. Okay, you hit this line today and you reject it. That is a warning sign, and you might just want to pay attention to it in case we are going to roll again, right? We could obviously roll again. It's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean that we're going to go back down to, the lows. There's a lot more stability now than we've ever had. You have GDP that's out, you have PCE that's out, you have earnings reports that are out. So there's a lot more stability, but just watch this level and go from there. So that's all I have for everybody this evening. As always, subscribe to the channel, click all notifications, and have a great weekend. Trade to win, everybody.